Statistically, nearly 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer in their lifetime, and the risk goes up as we age. I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and I want to share with you how I discovered it because it's not what we normally think. And I'll talk about my journey so far. I hope that my story will help you or someone you know who may face breast cancer in the future. First, I want to say that my cancer was caught early and that the doctors are positive that I will soon be cancer-free. My surgery to remove the tumor is in a few days, and further treatments and timing are pending. I'll keep you posted. But let's go back to the beginning. So I want to talk about how I discovered it first. I noticed one day when I was taking a shower that one of my nipples was sinking a little bit. And I noticed it especially when I raised my arm up. And I watched this, I noticed it, and I thought, that's odd. And I watched it for a couple of weeks, not too long. And I thought, okay, maybe I really should go to the doctor. And then ironically, I was actually going through some old files and I ran into a brochure that I had about breast cancer, and it listed maybe 5 or 6 signs of breast cancer. And I noticed that this nipple retraction was one of them. And I just said, bingo, I've got to go to the doctor. So this was like maybe a Saturday. And I decided to go online and schedule an appointment. And the appointment that came up, the soonest one, was like a month from that time. So I scheduled it. And then I emailed my gynecologist and I said, hey, this is my symptom, this is what's going on, and I would like to be seen this week. And you know, she responded over the weekend and she told me how I could get an appointment, and I saw her the very next day. And so she examined me and was quite frank and said, I'm concerned. So I'm going to send you for further testing. And so that produced a kind of an anxious week. There was a week between when I had the appointment with the gynecologist and then when I actually had the further testing. And during that time, I was anxious, and I told a few of my friends and got my friend group together to just give me a little support the night before the appointments. So those appointments included the follow-up I'm talking about. They included a diagnostic mammogram and an ultrasound. And in both of those cases, the doctors concluded that there were suspicious things going on. So they immediately did a biopsy. And during that biopsy procedure, I gotta say, they do numb you up a bit. It can be a bit painful. Of course, I got through it, and it's not so bad in retrospect, but during the procedure, I was really agitated. Even though I'm a strong person and I can handle difficult situations with not much trouble, I could feel myself just tensing up and shaking inside. And I wasn't sure where that was coming from. I think as I look back on it now, it was just adrenaline, kind of the fight or flight mode. So they did these tests, they did the biopsy, and then I had to wait. They told me it would take a week or so. And that was a pretty tense week. And what I did during that time is I started to tell a few more people that I was concerned about this. Wasn't going too wide yet because I wasn't sure I had breast cancer. However, I'm going to say that in all the instances, they said I really had all the signs. So I was not under any illusion about this. I was hoping for the best, but I did not have an expectation that I would be cancer-free. I just went into it with an open mind and waited for the results. And so a week after they did the mammogram and the ultrasound and the biopsy, they called me. And I was not surprised, as you might guess, based on what I've already said. And oddly, I was sort of relieved because at least I know, you know? And so the next step after that was for me to go to a follow-up appointment, like a sort of an intake appointment, which was about 10 days after those diagnostic tests. I don't know, let's see, is that right? Yes. No, 2.5 weeks after the diagnostic test, because there was a week I had to wait for the diagnosis, and then I had to wait another 10 days to go for the intake appointments. So as I said, after I found out about the cancer, I was relieved that I at least knew something. And then during the time after that, I started getting the pathology reports and getting a better understanding of what I was dealing with. And then also, kind of gathering my resources, so to speak. I was allowed to have 2 people with me in the appointment, and I chose my husband, of course, and then my brother, who happens to be a drug discovery scientist in the breast cancer field. So it was useful to have his perspective around the table. But anyway, before that appointment, that whole 10 days, pretty tense. And the closer I got to that appointment, because I just, I have some plans coming up, some travel plans, and, my life is busy. And this kind of thing kind of takes you off of your game a little bit and makes you question what you're going to be able to do. How tired am I going to be? What is the extent of the surgery? What am I going to have chemo? Is my hair going to fall out? And all this sort of thing. And also during that time, as I read more, and I tried to stay off the internet because honestly, it made me nervous. Everything is very specific to your case, so it made no sense for me to really be reading too much. But one thing that I got really clear on over the last few weeks is that once you are diagnosed with breast cancer, you are a cancer patient for the rest of your life. I just had this idea that, if it's there and it's small, which mine is, you can just cut it out and you're done. Well, that is not true in my case. So I don't think it's true in almost any case. When you have cancer, once you have cancer, the chance of recurrence is higher than for the population at large. And so you're always looking out for recurrence and doing what you can to prevent recurrence. So this is what I learned before my appointment. So then I met with the medical team, and they gave me the program. And in my case, I had a choice between a mastectomy and a lumpectomy. And in my particular instance, it really made more sense for a lumpectomy. My tumor is small, and I don't have any other information to suggest that a mastectomy would make sense for me right now. So that's the first step. And I don't expect it to be horrific. It's going to be in just a few days. And then after that, we're not sure what the next step will be. I'll have to have radiation for sure, which is to make sure they kill all the little molecules or the cells that are maybe left in there. That'll be after some healing has taken place. But they will do some genetic testing. And once I know a little bit more about that, then they will let me know if I will need chemo. And if I need chemo, I'm going to have the chemo first and then the radiation. So there's a few things up in the air. And that's another thing that I've really learned from this so far. The reality is that when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, the truth of your situation and the path you're going to take reveals itself over time. And you kind of have to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for that fact and to have this sort of uncertainty hanging over your head. And that's an adjustment. I've been having trouble sleeping, and sometimes I have trouble sleeping in general, but I've definitely had more trouble sleeping lately. And I think some of that is just all the stuff that I want to do and get done before I go into this. Some of it I think is just, this is a very jarring experience to go through. I'm really fortunate to have wonderful family and friends, and I also am very fortunate that my particular type of cancer is very treatable, and I know I'll come out the other side healthy, and I will go on with my life, and I will be a bit more vigilant. So I just want to say now, as I go into surgery, I will update you later after the surgery and what I learn in the future. But the first thing that I want to say is if you detect any difference in your breast, anything, it's not just about the lump, then go to the doctor. And then the other thing is just to realize that you're a breast cancer patient, you're always a breast cancer patient, and that the truth of your journey reveals itself over time, and you just have to kind of wrap your head around that. And then finally pull your A team together to support you. And I just hope that whoever watches this doesn't get breast cancer. But if you do, we're very, very lucky today to have wonderful, wonderful treatments available to us and that we didn't have even 20 years ago. And the survival rates and also just the intrusiveness of the treatments is, the survival rates are higher and the intrusiveness of the treatments is much less. So there's a lot of hope. And I hope that this video helps somebody out there. And I will keep you posted, and Godspeed. See you next time.